Alright, I took a little bit of extra time and I added in a few more proxy objects for my character. As you can see, I've added some in here for the knees and the elbows, and I also did one for the pelvis as well. So now when we move that around, all that stuff moves around with it, and that's just how I wanted it. So let's talk about setting up a couple other controls for visibility. There's some instances where we're working where for whatever reason we would like to hide or show only certain parts of our character. And this might happen when you're animating and you really don't want to see the mesh, and you kind of want to see what's happening with the bones underneath the mesh, or maybe you just want to look at the mesh and you want to ignore all the other stuff that's going on around it. Well, you can go in here into Scene Editor and you can toggle the visibility of each of the items and do all that, and that becomes a really tedious process. Well, we can actually set up something to do that for us that's relatively painless. So first thing I'll do is I'm going to select Zombie Mesh. I'm going to go ahead and unlock him. I hit P for our object properties. I'm going to go into Render. And then under here, under Object Dissolve, I'm going to hit E for Envelope. I'll close that for a moment. And what did that do? Well, Object Dissolve is really controlling the dissolve of our object. In other words, similar to Photoshop, it's like controlling the opacity of an object, but usually most of the time what you're using it for is to just have something on or have something off. And at 0% it's fully on, and at 100% it's fully off. And when you'll see that when we set up the toggle for this, that's all it's going to give us. It could give us an in-between, but I don't think you'd see that unless you actually rendered it out in a frame. You wouldn't see that kind of feedback in your viewport. Okay, so I've selected an envelope for that, and that, if we go into the graph editor, we'll see under Zombie Mesh we have a new channel, and that channel is Dissolve, and that's the channel we want. So let's go ahead and select these. I'm going to hit Shift-D to clear those from the bin, and I'm just going to put that channel up in there, and I'm going to create a favorite set. And just to keep things simple, I'm going to call it Dissolve. Let's go ahead and close that. And now I'm going to create a new null. And there it is. I'm going to call this one Visibility. And I'm going to move that null up here just above Zombie's head. And let me go into O for options, verify that parent and place is on. In the schematic view, I'm selecting that null, and I think I'll just probably parent that to the reference null. Give it a color, and of course, I'm going to give it a shape. I'll just paste in whatever I had from before. I think I'll change that to a diamond, and then give that a label of visibility. Okay, I'm going to stay in object properties here, and now I'm going to add another custom object, and the one that I'm going to add here is sliders. Sliders are a relatively new thing in Lightwave, and they're a very nice little tool, and it lets you set up separate channels in these little sort of, in these little objects here, where you can actually, you'll have like a little handle that you can slide back and forth to control different properties. So let's double click on sliders. I'm going to go down here in under Zombie Mesh. I'm going to single click to select Dissolve. I'm going to add that channel, and that added that Dissolve channel into the selected channels. Down here under Label, I'm just going to call it Zombie. Turn that into an orange, and then I'm just going to leave the range from 0 to 100 and click Continue. Let's move that out of the way. Now if I can grab this little, hold on a second. Now I'm going to grab that and move it up over here. And then if I select that, you'll notice as I put it up to 100%, the mesh dissolves right out. So that's great. Although we do have to slide it kind of back and forth, it's still, I find it a lot easier than going into the scene editor and having to open up a new menu panel. And you can also hide it by clicking the triangle here. Okay, let's go ahead and add in one other thing into the visibility slider, and that is actually we're going to grab all these nulls, and we're going to create dissolve channels for them as well, and we're going to add a new slider in here so that when we use the slider, it will actually take the visibility of all of these other objects to 0. Okay, so let me go ahead, I'm going to go into double vertical mode and go have a schematic view up here. And starting with the eye target, I'm going to select that. And I'm going to hit Object Properties, go into Render, click E, close it. Then I'll do the same thing for reference. And I'm just going to go through one by one. I'm going to skip the visibility one. I don't want to hide that one. But one by one, I'm going to go in and add dissolve channels for all of them. Okay, one thing we will need to do here is go into our master plugins and temporarily disable all of our proxy objects. So we can select them. This will take a couple minutes to do, so just bear with me here. I've got a couple, actually I can just go ahead and maximize my schematic view. We've got that one. We already grabbed that one. Let's do that one. And that one. And I think I got all the nulls for the right side. And now let's move over to the left. Get the left elbow proxy, pelvis proxy, the arm, the knee proxy, the IK leg, and the foot. I'm just going to double check here really quickly. Let me pause for a second and you do the same. Just go ahead and select each one and verify that you have an envelope attached to the dissolve. Okay, I've verified that everything that needed an envelope attached to it is. So I'm just going to select one of the nulls here. I just select the eye target because that was at the top. I'm going to go into the graph editor now. And you'll see here that we've got all the channels of the graph editor that the graph editor allows here for this, the scale, rotation, and position. But we also have the dissolve, which is the one that we just created for each of these. So I'm going to select all the stuff above it, hit Shift D, and actually let's go into our set that we created. And we'll have to back up for a second there. And now I'm just going to start working my way down through here. You can see actually that a lot of these have already expanded. So when we added the channels in, they were automatically expanded for us. So moving down here to reference, I'm going to grab the dissolve channel and just single click and drag it up. And I'm going to move my way down here, grab all these dissolve channels. Eye target. Now we're down to the feet. And here's the Elvis, and that should be all of them right there. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to create another favorite set of all of these, just to be sure that they get saved. And actually, I probably should have done this a little bit differently so we didn't have to create two, but I'll just call this dissolve all. Okay, so what's going to happen here? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a slider to control the dissolve of the eye target. But we're going to set up an expression in the graph editor such that the dissolve channels of all these other objects follow or take on the same value as the dissolve in the eye target. So that once we set the dissolve to the eye target to 100%, all of these other ones, excluding, not the zombie mesh dissolve, because we've already set that one up, but all these other ones will follow it and also have their dissolve set to 100%. So how do we do that? Well, pretty easy stuff. First we go down into our expressions tab. We're going to create a new expression. We'll call this one rig dissolve. I'm going to select to highlight value down here, and then I'm going to find the eye target dissolve over here in the channels, select that, and right click and click select append to expression. And actually that deselected my highlight, so I shouldn't have done that. I'll select that again and delete it. So now what that has done is it has added in the value using the syntax that Lightwave recognizes for the dissolve of the eye target. Okay, so that's actually all the work we needed to do there, except now that we've created this expression, we need to apply this expression to the other items in the scene. So going up here, I'm going to start with a reference dissolve, and I'm going to, actually not right click, there we go, I had to select off of it and then select again. Starting at the reference dissolve, I'm just going to start clicking apply all the way down here, but I'm going to skip the eye target, obviously. And looks like I got all of them. So I left out the eye target and the zombie mesh, which is what I wanted to do. Now I'm going to go back into perspective view. Then I'll select the visibility null again and hit P for object properties. Go here to sliders under the geometry tab. I'm going to double click that, and then I'm going to locate the eye target, which is right here. And select a dissolve channel. I'm going to add that channel. And then I'm just going to label this rig dissolve. Give that a nice little color. Let's say dark blue. Click continue. And now you can see we have a slider here. So what happens when I get this all the way to the right? Everything goes away. How about that? Pretty easy stuff, huh? So this will come in great. This will come in really handy for you when you're doing some previews and you just want to look at your character to see, look at his motion, and you don't have to look at all this other stuff. If you want to get rid of the eye targets, these little lines, you can do that. I've actually got, I think I have my eyes locked for the moment. Actually, I think that's probably under display options. Under display options, you can deselect show target lines if you like, if you want to leave those off. And really, there isn't too much of a reason to leave them on, although they can be a good cue visually for you. Let's go ahead and save our scene. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and actually wrap up this series of lessons. There are a few other things that we could do, especially like there are other expressions we might apply. Particularly, we could use expressions to control the hip placement with our feet. There's some, we could use follower again and apply those to the fingers so that we could actually have a slider up here that would control the opening and the closing of the hand. But I think for the most part I've given you enough material here and shown you enough examples so that if you wanted to do something like that, you can actually go in and figure it out for yourself. And that's a pretty good exercise to do, even though I've tried to be very thorough and detailed in these lessons. We can't give you everything at once because, first of all, it's too much information, and second of all, it's a good idea to experiment for yourself so that you can learn how to do things when there's nobody around to tell you how to do them. So with that, I hope that you have enjoyed this series. I have certainly enjoyed it myself. Do keep an eye out at Digiwonk.com for any kind of future lessons that we might post. I'm going to be looking at maybe doing some ones on lighting or some maybe just some really fun kind of things that you might want to try out. Certainly, if you have any questions about any of the material that's presented in here, shoot me an email, and the email address is info@digiwonk.com. Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys.